Hello, I have a 2 month progress video I wanted to make. I started doing immersion in Japanese roughly about 2 months ago. It's like the third week of December. I'd made a previous video talking about some of the resources that I was planning to use. But over that 2 month time, I guess things have changed, I guess since I started using them. So just wanted to make this for myself, and maybe some of what I'll be talking about might be helpful for some others out there who are trying to learn Japanese. So I'd watched a Robin McPherson's video, and he uses this Notion app a lot. I thought it was pretty neat. I'm really only using it to add the different resources I'm using because it's pretty convenient to have everything just in one spot. But I just put some text here about my background, and maybe like many of you, I started studying Japanese years ago. I think I went back and checked. It was back in 1996. I started taking classes at the Japan-America Society here where I live. I think I studied there about 4 years, going through the Japanese for Busy People textbook. I think I got into the second textbook, number 2. I don't know if we finished it. It's been so long. But it was never interesting or exciting, after that time period. I guess I could read at maybe a middle beginner level, but I couldn't speak at all. I never hardly spoke or did anything outside of the Japanese class other than just to do the homework. So, it felt like it was a waste of time. I'm sure others out there have the same sentiments on what they'd gone through. So I've studied Japanese off and on since then. Maybe total, I'm really not sure, 6 years total. But then I stopped studying for a really long time. I don't know, 15 years. And I guess when COVID hit, I decided to let me start studying Japanese again. And I started studying. I signed up for an italki class to try to speak more because, like I said, I never spoke hardly at all before then. I guess it was really a total disaster in my opinion, so I gave up. Maybe I studied last year for 3 or 4 months, and then I stopped. So I guess at the end of last year I started back again, and this time I was just going with the immersion approach, trying to find material that's comprehensible at the level that I'm at, and just try to enjoy it, find things that I'm interested in, which I think is the most important thing. Focus on what you're interested in and passionate about, and also keep it fun. So that's what I've been doing, and I've been trying to speak, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. And so when I made the first video, I had found some of the highly animated videos I had started to use, and I was making subs to SRS flashcards, which was actually pretty neat. But then over time, I guess I realized that at least that anime, even though I really like it, that the old style anime, the production quality is just amazing, I guess, for back then. But there's a lot of pauses in the anime. They're playing music. It's not continuous. So, and I really don't think that's the best to be watching as your prime source, at least for me. Maybe, like I said, there could be other anime that's out there that has more dialogue, which I think would actually be better because you want to train your ear to hear the Japanese. So I may watch it like with some passive immersion where I'm not really concentrating as much, just watching it to enjoy it. I'm still going to do that. But I guess, like I said up here, focus on what you're interested and passionate about. And for some reason, I just find reading the news in Japanese really interesting. I can go on my iPad. I have this Terehi Asahi news app, and I can just start reading different news articles, and they have the video with the script, which is pretty nice. So I can sit there and start reading that for several hours at a time. I find it enjoyable, and you're learning something at the same time, and so you can read and listen. So I think that's just a double benefit. So I'm using this on my iPad. I'm not going to show you that, but you can do the same thing and go on YouTube. They have the Today Asahi News, and so I normally start off reading the headlines. It's called Headlines on my app, Headline. Here it's the top news. But I just pick the news articles that I can read with some new words. A lot of this is going to be beyond my level at the moment, especially the economics and politics news has a lot of kanji and a lot of long kanji strung together. So I mostly just read the shakai news or the society news. Here's something about some news about the Peking Gorin Nisen and the Olympics that are going on right now. Tokushu, I believe that's what that says. Omicron Kabu. So I read a lot of this, and just over the 2 months, I've learned a lot of new vocabulary about the Omicron virus. And I guess here's one I was actually looking at today. This is in Korea. Kankoku de Yon. And this is, I guess, this combination was kind of new to me. I think this is Yonji Seshu. So they're talking about getting the 4th vaccine shot. Hajimaru has begun in Korea for, I think it's Korisku no Hito Taizo or Taiso, something like that. So for high risk people, they're given the 4th shot in Korea. And in Kokunai no Omicron Kabu. So in the country, the Omicron variant, Sukunakta mo Yon, can't remember how this is pronounced at the moment, but talking about it, I guess at least 4, this is like the route of the infection for the Omicron virus, at least 4 that I think they've determined, something like that. So this is what I'm doing, but I'm doing it on my iPad, and so you can play the news. They'll play the video, and you got the script below it that the announcer is going to be reading, so you can just follow along, which is a nice thing. Like I said, you're getting the double benefit of hearing it and being able to read something at the same time. And if you've ever
新型コロナのオミクロン株が広がる韓国で、政府は高リスクの人を対象にワクチンの予次接種を始めました。
So this is nice. And if you ever watched Japanese news, there's also a lot of banners and other text they put on the screen, so you're getting an overload of visual listening and reading. So I guess to me, I think this is really good. I guess I'll talk about what I'm supplementing with this later, because this isn't hearing normal natural conversation, and that's a whole nother thing to be able to hear. But I've been learning a lot of new vocabulary that is still applicable and can be used in normal everyday conversation. So I'm enjoying doing the news, and so I'm using this app on my iPad called Manabi Reader, and the reason I'm doing that, because like I said, I can just go to the news article, copy this text, I'll paste it into the Manabi Reader, and here's a screenshot right here. And so you read through it. It highlights words that the program thinks that are new. It'll show that in blue up here, words that you're learning, and then words that you know. So it's kind of based on having used this program for a while to gain the knowledge. And so you go through here, click on words. If you know it, it'll change to white. If it's this kind of orange color, they put it in the flashcard app for you to learn. In blue, it's like a new word. It thinks that you don't know. And so I guess the neat thing about Manabi Reader also, it keeps track of the kanji, that you tell it that you know or don't know. So this was at the second or the third week in December. So it was saying, I know about 471 kanji. This is how many I'm learning. Only read. And so I guess now I looked at this today. So the known kanji is up to about 630 some. And so you can see your progress, and these others are filled out. So I'm slowly making progress in learning different kanji basically just by reading and using the flashcard app. So it automatically makes the flashcards from the articles that you read, which is what I like. So I'm just trying to save time since I'm still working. And I think the flashcard app is pretty good. It's SRS. It doesn't have the ability to really change things like you can do in Anki. But the nice thing about it automatically pulls in the sentence from the article that the word was in. Like you can't click on anything here in the sentence, which would be nice, like pull up a dictionary, but it's helpful. So you tell it if you knew it or didn't know. And so this is what I've been using as kind of my main thing. So I try to read the Japanese news every day. I've been reading it every day for 2 months now, in the mornings or sometimes, usually in the evenings. And so I've been also using this book, and you'll probably maybe asking, I thought you were doing Immersion. How come you're using this? I've had this for a long time. It's out of print, but it was written by a professor who taught at San Diego State University, current Japanese. It goes through different like cultural settings, but the nice thing, it has like stories that are like 3-4 pages long. The whole book is entirely in Japanese. And so this gives me a lot of good reading practice, learning new vocabulary. And I had bought the cassette tapes, so that tells you how old this is. The cassette tapes years ago. So I've been listening to the cassette tapes while I read the article or read the stories and basically do shadowing. So at first this is difficult because I can't keep up with the new text that I haven't read, but after I've read this a number of times, I can shadow the teacher as she's reading the text here. So I think that's been working pretty well. I can click here to that you hear what it sounds like.
Current Japanese Intercultural Communication Lesson 3第3課敬語はやっぱり難しい。まずはじめに本文を普通の速さで読みます。聞いてください。ジョンはこの頃敬語が使いたくてうずうずしている。一緒に住んでいるカズオは同年配なのであまり敬語を使う機会がない。カズオのガールフレンドの
Anyway, I was following along with the text there. And so, so I've been doing this, and the other thing that I'm using, I was making Anki flashcards for this. The bad thing, I don't have the text that I can just copy and say put into the Manabi reader to automatically make the flashcards. So I was doing things manually, but I think I'm just going to now sentence mine out of the text and just put in words that I want to learn and just manually put it into Anki. I'm just trying to save as much time as I can. But what I'm doing along with this textbook, I started meeting with a Japanese teacher on Anki who is really flexible. And so we're going through this textbook, which is really working out well because there's a lot of nuances and cultural things that she explains to me that I definitely would not pick up if I was just reading this on my own. And since this textbook was written quite a while ago, she said there's some things in here that are a little outdated, but I think it's still good practice, and they go through a lot of grammatical patterns that I've forgotten since 1996 or whatever, so it's been really good refresher for me. So this has been working out really well using italki. So I've been meeting with her maybe about a month and a half, and it's a lot of fun. And so I guess the only other thing that I'm trying to implement is listening to some normal everyday conversation in Japanese. Like I said, the news is good, but it's not the same as hearing people just talk normally or talk together with 2 or 3 people. So like I said, you want to find something you're interested in. So I came across this Japanese blogger or vlogger's channel. He travels to different countries. Now I can't find it. Yeah, and so the interesting thing, when I found his video, he was in this Chinese city of, I think it was Nandong. But it's right across the border from North Korea. And so I guess I'm really fascinated by North Korea. Just something about it, like one of the last old stalwarts of really strict communism, you know, how they can survive. So you can kind of get an insight into the country. So he took a boat ride down the river that separates China from North Korea. And so you can see across the river onto the other side of the shore into North Korea. And so here he's, you know, this channel is just all in Japanese, so it's a little more difficult. But the nice thing is I can turn on the subtitles, and that helps a whole lot listening with subtitles. The only bad thing is this is the auto-generated subtitles in Japanese, so sometimes they may not get the translation correct, but I found for the most part it's fairly accurate. And so I guess, but actually what you're seeing on the screen here, so I just turned something off, so this is just the normal subtitles for YouTube with the closed caption.
ビジネスいっぱいあるんですよ。でこれね、こういうなんかいろんな
Shucks. You wouldn't know the commercial would come on just as I'm trying to play it. But so he was talking about, I guess, the city there, since they're so close to
いろんなものが北朝鮮のいろんなものが見れますよって言って。
Chosen Ironna Mono, I guess there's the different pictures. So this is like some advertisement for the, if I remember the kanji here, Josen Yuran Chosen. So you can embark on a sightseeing boat to see North Korea. And he was saying, I guess in that part of China, they don't call it Kita Chosen, they just say Chosen, because I guess it's the Korea near the city. And so
すごくないですか。みんなやっぱりね、北朝鮮興味あるんですよ、中国人もね。
so turning on the,
今僕、中国と北朝鮮の国境の町丹東ってところにいるんですけど、今からこの遊覧船に乗って対岸の北朝鮮を見に行こうと思います。
So I've listened to this several times already, and I'm being able to understand more and more what he's talking about, but definitely having the Japanese helps, because you may hear something and not pick it up, but if you can read and see what he's saying, it's like, oh yeah, that's the word. And another really neat application to get for Google Chrome is this called Language Reactor. So it's an extension, so you can use it on YouTube videos. So I just toggled it on, and so it pulls over here on the right, you know, the same auto-generated subtitles, and steps through.
この中国と北朝鮮の国境の遊覧船自体は以前も載ってて、動画にも出してるんですけど、以前の
So nice thing, you can select this feature that it just plays certain segments and then it'll automatically stop. And there's some controls here where you can
以前乗
replay.
った遊覧船は向こう側北朝鮮側に全然建物がなかったんですよね。
So it automatically stops, and you can toggle that on and off, or go back and forward. And you know, it has the dictionary that you can load. Yuran. And look up words as you're watching the video. So how convenient is that? You know, so this is really cool. You can toggle on this auto. I believe this is auto-generated English, and again, a lot of times. I don't really look at this because the translation is kind of funky, but you can go to the settings and toggle stuff on and on that you want to see or not want to see. So I would definitely recommend getting this, again, this Language Reactor extension for the Google Chrome browser. So, and then I guess the nice thing about him, he has a blog that he's also writing. And he has this blog where he's talking about Kita Chosen ni Muko Yuransen, the sightseeing boat ni Notte Mita Kekko. The results of his, riding on the sightseeing boat and looking across at North Korea. So he has some text about what he saw there, which is really fascinating. I just find this fascinating. So like I said, find stuff that you're interested in. Even though a lot of the kanji here, some I may not know, you can always look it up. And then another nice feature is to get the Yomi-chan also extension for the Google Chrome browser. Because if you're reading text, it allows you to, I guess it should come up shortly, mouse over words and it'll pull up the dictionary, and while you're reading, tell you what the word is. How convenient is that? Honmono no Chosen Hanto, Korean Peninsula, Fushigi, or Fushigi here, these three. So anyway, I've been reading his blog and watching his videos. So that helps with the naturally spoken Japanese. And then, there's some other podcasts that I've found that, I like. You may not like these. There's a whole bunch you can choose from. I know I watched Aussie Man's channel, and he had some YouTube channels that he recommended, and none of these are the ones he recommended, because it seems like he's into mixed martial arts. And so he had some mixed martial arts channels and some other channels that he said that he watched and would recommend. But this other one, the Miku Real Japanese channel, she has a couple of videos with conversation that I was enjoying. Here's one that I listened to.
ますね。で、私がメキシコに住んでる時によく感じてたのは、感情表現の仕方が日本と全然違うなってことなんですけど、
I believe on her channel you can turn off the
全然違いますね。
I guess I thought you could turn off the English.
あんまり表に
But I could pretty much follow a lot of this. It's a little more slower speaking. I think not all of her videos are like this. So she has some other. So this is excellent conversation
あまり
practice.
表に出さないし、
Listening to normal spoken Japanese, other videos. There's another channel you may know of, Learn Japanese with Noriko. She has some podcasts, a lot of podcasts, but here is another conversation. There's no
そんなこ
video.
とを何年間続いて、4年間ぐらい前、真面目に勉強しようと思いました。だから、本当の、学校に
Yeah, so she's talking to, I guess, one of her students, and I wish my Japanese was as good as her students' Japanese, so one day, but yeah, so I'll listen to this maybe if I'm driving in a car or something like that. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time trying to do any intensive listening to this and pick out words. And I came across this channel recently. It's from this family called the Forsyths. They're in Australia. Their father is, I think, Australian, and the mom is Japanese. So I think these are two of the older siblings. I think there's 7 or 8 children in the whole family. So I believe they grew up in Japanese. I mean, all of their Japanese is really good, but they speak, English as well. But this is a little more advanced. But one day I was just watching this, just listening to it, not worrying about understanding everything. I could pick out different parts here and there.
していこうと思いますので、1時間ぜひはい見てください。
そう、私たちは3回目よね。
そう
そう
3回目
で、確か1回目の時が私たちもう自分たちで話しすぎて全然コメント見てなくて怒られたよね。
そう今日はコメント
So this is, excellent natural conversation back and forth between 2, 3, and then 4 people. So it's going to be probably a little harder to follow once everybody's talking. But another one that I find interesting. So that's kind of what I've kind of revamped my study. So if this is maybe interesting to you, hopefully you can check out some of these resources, and so I just put everything here into this Notion page. And so the different articles that I'm reading off the TV Asahi app and website, I've just created a separate ANN news articles and Notion page, and just link to the website, copied the text, and just put off the audio from the YouTube video.
トンガ政府は海底火山の大規模な噴火を受け非常事態を宣言しました。トンガ政府は19日付の声明で
So this is talking about the undersea volcano that erupted, causing the tsunami that struck Tonga. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago or so. It looks like January. I forgot the date. Can't read the end of the date. But so that was interesting. So you can see I'm not reading anything about politics or economics because that's beyond my level at the moment. But here was about a car accident that happened, and a 19-year-old Jikusai no Dansei Shibo was killed. And recently, I guess this article was about a girl they caught cheating for the entrance exam. Looks like she was using her cell phone or her phone to take video of the test. And then she later, I guess, made still images and sent those to one other guy who sent it to someone else. So it's talking about that. Here was a bicycle accident. So more like society things that's happening. This is talking about the coronavirus. Sokuho is like a news flash. So this article isn't going to be very long, but it's talking about Osaka fuによりますと13日新たに新型コロナウイルスの感染者 infected people が So every day they're giving these numbers in Japan about the numbers of infected people 確認されました that they confirmed are infected. So this is Osaka. And I guess the number of people who have died that have been confirmed. And so this is about a fire that happened, and this is about I didn't realize this, but the article said Chugoku Seifu, Chinese government, Pfizer manufacturing company, Corona Nomi Gusuri o Kinkyu. I always get this word wrong. This is like a approval. So it looks like the Pfizer company may provide this the pill type of the Omicron pill to China. Thought that was kind of interesting. A U.S. company would be providing that, but at least that's what this article. This did not have any video, so that's kind of what I'm doing. So like I said, this Notion page just makes it really easy to put everything that I'm listening to and reading all in one section instead of having to go back and forth. So that's the nice thing I found about the Notion page. So that's really what I'm using this for. So that's kind of my update. Basically the news, the current Japanese textbook reading and listening, and then trying to actually listen to some conversational Japanese, not just a Japanese that's recorded, somebody speaking from a textbook, which I still think is good. So I'll put some links to these in the description. Hope this was useful for you, and I'll talk to you later. Sayonara.